Do you feel it? You know what I'm talking about, that tiny twinge of fear when you see a cop car pass by. You're not robbing a bank, you're not smuggling diamonds, you're just driving home, and yet your heart skips a beat. Why would good law-abiding people with nothing to hide feel so afraid of the people sworn to protect them? Well, that's because the more laws we have, the less lawful the world feels. Let me explain. Most of the time, many of us aren't even sure when or if we're breaking the law. Did I just commit a traffic violation at this roundabout? Did I improperly file this tax form? Am I supposed to be carrying a pocket knife in this area? Am I going to get in trouble for parking in the no parking zone for like 2 seconds just to pick up my takeout? Did I just violate some building code by putting up this treehouse for my kid? The answer? You don't know. I don't know. Nobody knows. And apparently, ignorance of the law is no excuse. Which means, yes, the cops could hassle you at any moment. You're right to be afraid. But wait a minute. How is any of this fair? How can anyone expect the average person to navigate a legal spiderweb so massive it was spun by thousands of lawmakers, living and dead, over hundreds of years? It's a web so dense you can't even see daylight through it. Imagine being forced into a game where the rulebook is a 20 million word labyrinth. Dense, cryptic, impossible to memorize. You're still struggling through the first paragraph when new rules are dropped in out of nowhere. Whistles explode around you, and referees swarm in and they call fouls and violations for rules that didn't even exist 30 seconds ago. Well, guess what? You're living that game, kid. Congress adds 344 new pieces of legislation every session. That's 2 to 3 million words of new law every year, and the average law has been getting longer and longer and longer over time. Good luck trying to read and understand even one new piece of legislation a year, much less 344 of them. Not to mention, these laws are totally incomprehensible because they're completely nonsensical. You've got legislators jamming policies into bills that have nothing to do with anything in order to get various unrelated side agendas passed. Take the Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2021. This is a good example. This more than 5,000-page behemoth of a bill included a COVID-19 relief package, but also totally unrelated sections about provisions for horse racing, approvals for 2 new Smithsonian museums, a new section of foreign policy for Tibet. What do Tibet and horse racing have to do with anything? I don't know. You tell me. By comparison, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 took just 28 pages to describe. And yes, it actually stayed on topic. It wasn't like, oh yeah, we're ending employment discrimination, but also Washington, D.C. is getting a new water slide, and we're declaring Bigfoot an endangered animal. In fact, in Skamania County, Washington, it is illegal to kill Sasquatches. I'm sure the animal rights activists will be thrilled. This is only the tip of the iceberg about how bloated, ridiculous, and unfair the American legal system has become. There are more ridiculous pieces of American legislation than we even have time to enumerate. Whether it be state, local, federal, the world of American law is impossible to navigate. Here's a sample platter of just a few choice hors d'oeuvres for you here, just to whet your appetite. Federal law forbids falconers from letting their falcons appear in films that aren't about falconry. Yeah, because the country is falling apart and lawmakers are focused on movies about falcons. You heard that right. In Florida, people who own bars, restaurants, or any other places where liquor is sold could be fined $1,000 if they participate in or permit any contest of dwarf tossing. Dwarf tossing. I mean, I have no idea what that is. I don't even know what that means. Is that just tossing short people? I'm not even really sure what the problem is if everyone consents, but I mean, if the short person doesn't consent, isn't that just assault? Why would we need a law specifically banning dwarf tossing? It makes no sense. In South Berwick, Maine, it's illegal to park in front of Dunkin' Donuts. Because, get this, those spots are reserved for police officers only. Yikes. I wonder what excuse the cops came up with to officially colonize the local donut shop. In Hartford, Connecticut, it's illegal to collect rags, paper, glass, old metal, junk, cylinders, or other waste materials without a license. Because apparently they want their trash everywhere, except in the hands of, some good Samaritan actually trying to clean it up. Many places in the country like Georgia or Nassau County, New York, ban wearing a mask or any kind of disguise in public. They also don't want groups of people dressed in matching outfits. Great, so I guess they can just decide on some technicality to arrest anyone on Halloween if they want. And I'm sure every Comic-Con becomes a full-blown shootout. I mean, this is ridiculous. And again, these are all elaborate, nuanced laws, but believe me, we don't have time to get into the details. Nobody has time to get into the details. And that's exactly the point of this video. The legal system is far too confusing, convoluted, and just plain ridiculous to follow. So, just think twice before you park at a Dunkin' Donuts or try to pick up trash. Don't get any funny ideas, I'm watching you, punk. These laws never should have made it past the first draft, let alone still be standing today. And yet, not only do they refuse to clean up the legal mess we already have, they just keep throwing more laws at the problem. It's like trying to put out a fire with gasoline. Ironically, we're at a point where the more laws we pass, the worse law and order gets. Cities are only becoming more dangerous and chaotic as time goes on. And it's easy to see why. I mean, how can you follow the law if you can't understand the law? Well, eventually, most people just give up trying to understand the law, laugh at the legal system like a bad joke, which it is, and then they just do whatever they want. They've built so many rules in the name of freedom that you can't take a single step without feeling the red tape tighten around your ankles, then causing you to accidentally trip over some law. I'm not sure you can even shave your back anymore without a permit. And of course, you'll never have known that you needed a permit because the law was a footnote in a bill about building candy factories in Tibet. Meanwhile, the innocent get caught like unsuspecting flies in the web, all while they're just trying to, live their life. And then the guilty slip out through golden loopholes because they were all overlooked in sprawling 5,000-page legal tomes that not even the legislators themselves could keep track of. We're all just left here praying the trap doesn't spring shut on us next when we unknowingly park at the wrong Dunkin' Donuts. This is what freedom looks like today. A minefield of rules, each one waiting to blow up in your face. You're at the mercy of a legal system where every person is guessing, different offices don't talk, and not a soul can tell you where any of it's headed or what the plan even is. The system is completely out of control. It's like a headless monster barreling towards you as it trips over its own long, grotesque, disfigured limbs. No wonder you're afraid. Even the people running the system get lost in it. Cops, judges, officials, they're buried under conflicting rules. When real harm happens, a violent crime, for example, a community emergency, we don't get a swift action. We get hesitation, paperwork, delay. The legal system can barely even serve the public anymore. And if the legal system isn't serving the public, then, well, we're serving the legal system. A legal system that no one understands stops being law. It's a mysterious, headless god we all worship. We can't predict where it will go or who it'll devour. No longer does it listen to us, but we obey the monster as it just blindly stumbles around, erratically destroying everything in its path, leaving our cities in ruin. Each new convoluted, arbitrary law that's passed just feeds the monster and he grows even larger. Every victim of the legal system is another sacrifice we offer up to our blind god.
Enter the Cavern of Unknown Horrors. Listen.
What's that noise?
I don't know.
You know what's crazy? The legal system was never meant to be some sort of mysterious Frankenstein's monster. The original idea of law was moral. It was clear and precise. It served human need without overstepping its bounds. Think of the 10 Commandments. Don't murder, don't steal, don't lie. Things that everyone understood. You didn't need a 10,000-page code to figure it out. You knew when you were doing right, and you knew when you were doing wrong. The real power of the law wasn't complexity, it was simplicity. People can follow laws rooted in a clear, consistent understanding of right and wrong. Laws that are written according to our shared humanity, our shared conscience, are great laws. They enable human flourishing. People don't need to study 1,000,001 arbitrary rules written by sociopaths when their conscience will tell them when they messed up. And here we finally reach the real reason our society is deteriorating. It's not because there aren't enough laws, as Congress would have you believe. It's because we're all demoralized, and we've all lost touch with our conscience. The lawmakers, the police, and many normal people have all increasingly lost any kind of human sentiment. We have laws being passed for the sake of arbitrary personal preferences and not objective right and wrong. And then we have people living not according to human decency, but according to their own insatiable appetites, with little regard for their neighbors. We've let the intellectual equivalent of street lunatics, erratic, suicidal, self-absorbed philosophers rewire our sense of morality until we can't hear the one voice that never lied to us: our conscience. Personal virtue is the root of social order. Without it, order packs its bags and leaves us out to dry. Our consciences are the shared thread that run through humanity. They help us work together and collaborate. By numbing our conscience, we're effectively disconnecting ourselves from the thread, the very thread that links humanity together. And when that's the case, human collaboration and flourishing become almost impossible. And what is law? Law is supposed to be the vehicle for upholding our conscience. That was the original point that everybody seems to have forgotten. It needs to be rooted in a genuine sentiment of love and human dignity. Law, at its core, should be nothing more than our shared conscience in writing. Clear, concise, moral, human, and straightforward enough for a farmer or a professor to grasp alike. Without that moral anchor, ordinary people are tossed around like leaves in a storm, bending to every new regulation and then tripping over invisible tripwires, and then still ending up on the wrong side of the law. And when right and wrong become whatever the latest random arbitrary rule says they are, there's no stability, only chaos, tyranny, and paranoia. So what do? Well, for one, society needs to be remoralized. We all need to reattune ourselves to our conscience. We all need to start living by the innate law that's written in each of our hearts. Now that's a personal journey that we all need to begin. We need to quiet down our restless minds a little bit and pay a little bit more attention to what our conscience is telling us about how we should be behaving. As for the legal system, this isn't the first time a legal code has gotten totally bloated. The first time a legal system is in the need of an overhaul. Ancient Rome simplified its codes under Justinian, and this restored a lot of order. Post-revolution France replaced thousands of feudal laws with concise Napoleonic code. Meiji Japan rewrote the legal framework and stripped away tons of bloat, and aligned Japan with a clear moral and civic vision. In every case, cutting the legal jungle back to something that people could actually understand brought more stability, not less. The solution is simple. We need to streamline the legal code down to a digestible and concise package that's actually rooted in a concrete understanding of right and wrong. We need to quit feeding the monster we've created and slay it. We need to replace this legal golem with something more human. We need a legal code that serves us and not the other way around. Imagine a legal system you could read in a week, not a lifetime. Imagine a society where laws fit on one bookshelf instead of in a warehouse. Imagine walking past a cop car and feeling safe, not afraid. That's not a fantasy. It's what happens when law returns to morality and when people return to conscience. We don't need more laws, we need less laws. And more importantly, we need better people. And better people starts with my favorite person, you. I'm Leo Light, and this has been the Imperial Synaxis. Subscribe and join my crusade to reignite human conscience and rebuild the bonds of cooperation. I'll see you next time.